Hey there, it's Billy Golightly. Long time no YouTube. Figured I'd show everybody a little bit about what I've been working on recently and tell you what I've been up to. Started my own real estate office 2 years ago, about 2 weeks ago actually. 2 years ago, 2 weeks ago. And that's been keeping me really busy with real life and paying bills and make sure all that kind of fun shit always gets done. So my Hernando trips and off-road riding has become a long distance down the line of things I get to do. I've kind of fallen in love with riding on the road because I can basically hop on the bike from the office or wherever and go for a little quick jaunt across town or across the county or whatever and come back and don't have to load the bikes up, so get a little throttle therapy that way. What you're looking at here is a conglomeration that kind of originally had the idea on 4 years ago. I saw some pictures and video of some guys out of Michigan that built a motorcycle based on the 250R frame and engine, and of course that's my Rotax 400cc hybrid there in the middle. My dad and I have been working on this thing incrementally since about November of last year. That'd be 2016. Just a couple hours here and there one time, and money allows for parts. Basically, we got a standard 250R frame. We cut the steering neck off, put it in my fixture that I made for frames, gosh, probably 5 or 6 years ago. Welded on the new steering neck. It's actually, this whole front end is Suzuki SV650, which I already have a complete bike, and I really liked the way that the front end worked, and fairly lightweight. So I procured some parts off of eBay, and basically we chopped the frame like I said, welded that steering neck onto it, had everything all fixtured up by the engine mounts and back here at the swing arm pivot, and you know, kind of made sure that was good and plumb. We increased the rake. The stock three-wheeler rake is way unsafe for motorcycle usage. It's way too steep. So we configured the frame where once the thing has tires on it, should have about a 26-27 degree rake depending on how I get the sag set up. The rear end, swing arm and rear wheel is Suzuki SV650 also. That's a shortened ATC 200X rear shock, believe it or not. Had to weld on a new mount down there on the bottom. As you can see, had to do some trimming up here in the corner of the swing arm to fit the rear engine mount of the 250R. The swing arm was actually a pretty easy fit. Wasn't overly difficult. 200X shock basically was about the right length to go non-linkage mount. The Suzuki had a linkage set up to begin with, and the shock for it is laying down there next to my spare 250R motor. The linkage just was not going to be time effective to basically make that work to the frame. I would have had to do all sorts of build out here in the back of the frame to make the linkage work up. So 200X of course is a no link setup also. I took the shock and shortened it by about, oh gosh, I don't know, 5/8 of an inch or so. So you can see it doesn't have a whole lot of chrome shaft showing here. You got your bump stop still to compress, but that put me to pretty decent ride height on this bike. Kind of going for sort of a cafe street tracker type deal, I guess. The foot pegs are Suzuki Hayabusa, believe it or not. They have these rubber mounted. You can see there, kind of gives a little bit of flex. I think it'd be good for engine vibrations and things like that. Did a little modification on the frame to run these foot peg adapters I made. Put new inserts into the frame and welded those up because the ones that were in there were basically trashed beyond repair. Got another Suzuki 650 SV650 component here in the radiator. Gas tank is a Honda FT500 Ascot. Actually happened to have laying around in the barn and laid it on and like, man, that That kind of just gives the bike a good look. So went with that. Rear seat is a Chicom unit off of eBay. Just search Cafe Racer hump seat. You'll find one. Had to make a whole bunch of brackets and cut up the subframe and stuff to fit that. We got a, I call it a subframe loop here on the back. Grab bar handle. Kind of used to having that from the dirt. I've seen some guys basically put in brake lights and kind of French them in. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet or exactly what I'm doing in that regard. Kind of get a little bit better view over here on this side of it. So you know, that's the Rotax motor. I'm going to wind up having to build another pipe probably. I want to come out of the exhaust, probably going to have to loop around, come down and back under. I want to try to build an underslung exhaust if at all possible. Let's see, also had to convert the rear sprocket from 530 chain down to 525. Gonna have to get a little creative here. I'm still working this out on the shifter linkage, running up to the shift shaft on the 250R, just because got a way different configuration. Had to move the pegs backwards and also up a little bit from what they were to basically make it more comfortable sitting on as the bike. Of course, the SV front end has the dual front discs. I've had guys ask me, well, why aren't you running inverts? Well, I got this whole front end for less than 200 bucks with shipping, I think, and an invert front end would be probably about that much for the front wheel and hub. The Suzuki SV650 front end I actually think is pretty good too. At least it's worked good on my bike. So that's kind of my shop project I've been working on for I guess about 8 months now. A little bit here and there. Started like everything, pile of parts, was a bare frame, bare motor, that front and rear end, and I've been kind of just piecing everything together since then. I've got a forum thread on dotheton.com. You might want to check it out. It's under the specials section, a little bit more in depth with everything. But you know, got a street legal title for the frame as a motorcycle, so I've already got that taken care of. Of course, you know, got to do lights and horn and, you know, other stuff to be you know, legit on compliance with the road laws, you know, for what the bike's got to be. So got a ways to go on that. Haven't decided whether I'm going to leave the Rotax motor in it or not. It definitely makes it cooler, and it would be fast as shit, I'm sure. I think to begin with, I might start with just the regular old 250R motor down here to try it out, then go back to the Rotax or make it a wild hair and just leave that in there to begin with. That's a pretty hot motor for a street bike that weighs probably about 300 pounds. That's probably a 60-65 horsepower engine on pump gas, I would guess, which in something that's that lightweight should be pretty fun / dangerous. So that's it. Little walkthrough. Hadn't done a video in a long time. Had people kind of messaging me wanting to know when I was riding. Just haven't been there. Still got the bikes. There's 2 right there and another one's in my trailer. You can see over there. Nope, too dark. I just came back from Trike Fest, so that's about the only riding I've done, you know, last long time other than hopping on a street bike here and there. So thanks for watching. Subscribe. I'll be sending in some more stuff occasionally. See ya.